I'd like to call this meeting of the Architectural Review Board and City Planning Commission to order. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Roll call, please.
Watke,
Here.
Hunter,
Here.
Stocko,
Here.
Boardman,
Here.
Geisler,
Here.
Meinel,
Here.
Schroeder.
Here. Did everyone get a chance to look at the minutes for the March 7th, 2024 meeting? Any changes or corrections?
Move to be approved as written.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Our first item for the Planning Commission is Joseph Doherty, Surdome Midwest Storage Associates, vacant lot, County Trunk H and Proctor Drive. The first item is a conditional use permit, public hearing and recommendation. For the conditional use permit, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Planning Commission of the City of Elkhorn on April 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter may be heard in the council chambers, city administration offices, 311 Seymour Court, Elkhorn, Wisconsin, for the purpose of hearing all interested parties, their attorneys or agents with respect to the application submitted by Joe Doherty, Surdome Midwest Storage Association Incorporated for a conditional use permit to allow rentable mini warehouse storage units located on a vacant lot off County Trunk H and Proctor Drive. The property is more precisely identified by the following tax parcel ID YA 414900001. Do we have anybody here for public comment? Asking again, anybody for public comment? And a third time, anyone like to be heard? The public hearing is closed. And we can do we need to discuss the?
Yeah, absolutely. We usually start with the applicant, just doing a brief introduction of the
Oh.
project. If that works for Plan Commission members, we can have Warren, you can come up to one of the podiums and give an intro.
Of course, I'm Warren Hanson with Ferris Hanson and Associates. I'm here with Joe Doherty.
Warren, could we just have you speak into one of the microphones, if possible? Thank you.
I'll sit down then.
Thanks.
That's big enough, I can almost read off of that. Okay. Again, I'm here with Joe Doherty. He's the developer of this, and he's planning to do a nice storage facility here. That particular site is about 3.5 acres, and it's been vacant as part of the industrial park for, well, ever since the industrial park started. And the buildings are going to be, there's 6 buildings in this grouping. They're going to total about 52,000 square feet in total. There's going to be one part of building 6 that's going to have climate control, just a few units. There's going to be a main entry way down on the southeast corner. We wanted to get it as far south as we could on the property. We are proposing our rear yard up against the railroad track, like most all the other ones along that whole area have a big wide space along the railroad track there. And our neighbors, Sweetener Supply, also has that same. Sweetener Supply has a 10-foot side yard they've used, and we are doing the same. I know there's a question on whether or not that should be the rear yard or the side yard, but and that's, I guess we're going to hear that for a variance, but I think it should be. And what we're doing with that most westerly building, which would be on top of the screen, there's no driveway behind it. That's a blank wall there. So we're going to have landscaping, heavy landscaping on that edge, and then the fencing will come down to the corners of that building And it'll be a nice shut off there, so there's no other, and also it's gonna help with the drainage, because all the drainage then, which now goes over onto them, will now go down to the basin that's in the southeast, or southwest corner that's shown. So that will work out better that way. Um, We have shown, there was a question on fire access and things. We've shown the turns can go through, the whole project could show, I showed a lot of the turns, but I could have showed more of the turns for the fire department. So we have that planned for. Let's see. There was a landscaping plan submitted, and we have like a 12 to 14 Black Hill spruce around the site. And then there's the plantings up on the west side. And there's going to be a little entry area. We have an existing water main that apparently was planned originally way back when. And frankly, I think I did that plan way back when, a long time ago anyway. That went straight across at a right angle to the railroad track, because that's what they wanted to do, rather than angle it across there. So we had to put at the time, had to put a sleeve under the railroad track. And then it angles back down along H and in an easement. Now, while the water main exists there, I don't believe the easement was ever recorded. So what we're going to do is, part of this will be writing an easement for that water main and recording it. But I don't believe it. It didn't show up in title, didn't show up on the survey that the owner got. And so I just think it somehow got lost in the shuffle. We plan to do the site in one phase overall for grading and stabilization, so the whole thing would be done at once. There may be some gravel pads left there for the buildings themselves, but all of the other roadways and the building pads would all be gravelled. And then the plan is to go ahead and build one after the other, but depending upon the market conditions, the buildings may be stepped. They may build a couple, 2 or 3 at once, and then one after the other after that. So we don't know. Plan is to do it within a couple years maximum. So we would like to get going as soon as possible. I think everything is in order. The stormwater from this site now drains to the south and west, and then drains across, actually, Sweetener Supply, which is to the west there. That's their building. And it goes to a storm sewer that's shown on there, that little circle up on the left there, right there, that existing catch basin, the other existing one. That's the one where most all of this water, a lot of it goes that way. And it goes to that catch basin, and then beyond that catch basin down to the Proctor Drive area, and then it's collected in this big storm sewer down there. I am talking with Sweetener Supply people about whether or not they would allow us to just provide our controlled release to that catch basin, because there's a big 12-inch storm sewer that's out of that catch basin that was sized probably for this site and will handle this. But I'm not there yet with that negotiation. So we have another alternative, and what the alternative would be, it's shown there to drain, the control structure would drain into another catch basin on the south side of the bike trail and go over to Proctor Drive and then connect at the storm sewer. That's on actually the west side of Proctor Drive. We opened up that manhole on Proctor Drive, and the one that's almost right across from the bike trail has an 18-inch storm sewer stub that looks to go across the road, but I don't know where it was terminated. Maybe it was terminated on the south side, but we'll have to look into that. But there is a pipe going out of the manhole that way, up that, like it's going across the road.
Towards
I-
the,
What's that?
towards the bike path?
Toward the bike path. And I think what that was for is for a planned way back when, for a road to be where the bike path is, to lead in there, a little stub, because this is such a big parcel, we're gonna put a little stub road in so that it could serve off of that. I believe that's what that storm sewer was for. But I think probably all it was is stub underneath under the actual Proctor Drive part, and then just terminate maybe at the right of way or something. So I think that's what we would try to do. That way we don't have to cut the road open.
So it's either option
Either,
A or B, it's not both, right?
yeah, that's what we're saying that we could do. Okay, so, I think I talked about, most of this. Most of the site is gonna be cold storage. And there's many different sizes of units. He's planning quite a mixture of units. They're listed on the side for the buildings and the sizes of them and the sizes of the units. We show all of the areas. A lot of times these places don't have any place to store snow, but we have a lot of areas shown there to store snow in it. So that's always been a problem in some areas. And the one thing that I do a lot of now, and I know everybody's catching on to these, we do so many of them, that these buildings are not constructed level. They have a 1% pitch, and that means that driveways have a 1% pitch. What happened years ago is everything all flat, and we have storm sewers everywhere, right? You can only carry water so far. But if you pitch the buildings 1%, and when it's done, you can't see any. It doesn't look like it's pitched, and it works. But then we have the swale in the road, and that carries all the water down to the storm drains. So we have curb and gutter on this site so that we can control water and carry it to the basin rather than having it going off-site. Oh, and there's the bike, I know you have a bike trail that's being planned to be done. And we show that, well, we show the existing one, not the proposed one, but that proposed one is basically the same thing. I think it's maybe centered a little more or something. But where it crosses our entry road is about a half a foot or so higher. And we are going to have to then step back and then bring that up at no more than a 5% longitudinal grade. And then we can do a 2% cross slope on it too. That's the minimum. So that's what we computed anyway, from those points, that it would go up a little bit, cross, and then go back down a half a foot. It just, otherwise it just gets a little steep if we don't do that for the driveway. And we moved it back so we got 75 feet of stacking. We added an extra hydrant in there because of the fire department's comments, and that's a good comment too. But a lot of these places don't have hydrants throughout that development. They have it at the entry. They can fill up at the entry, and so we had one at the entry. But then we also put one on the backside, so we got two hydrants where people could fill up from if you had a fire. And we'll locate that wherever the fire department wants it to be. If maybe they want it further west a little bit too, and we could do that too. I don't know if there's any questions. That's one thing about this is that our building and the right-of-way of this, our half right-of-way is almost like 65 feet in H. And that first building, you'd say, well, that's pretty close to the right-of-way. Well, it's from that edge of the road, it's 116 feet back from that. And the building itself is just about 50 feet all the way back. I think the one corner is 48.8 or 9, and the other side is 50, I believe. There will be a fencing around the whole site. It'll be a colored fence, like a black, a powder-coated fence type of fence. I don't know, on lighting on it, we're going to have a low-intensity lighting. The lights that we show are 11-watt LEDs, spaced every 50 feet and then staggered. So there's going to be lighting, but it isn't going to be strong, heavy lighting at all. It's just going to light it up. Maybe more fixtures and not so much intense. There will be a small office in that first building on the left, and and then there's going to be a kiosk outside, and that's not going to be manned all the time. They will make appointments or do certain other things, but that'll just be something that's probably most of the time won't have nobody in it. So, and there's two parking stalls there. Rarely do you need any more than that for something of this size, because people are going to be coming, and there's ways to get in and park. So.
Plan Commission members, do you have any questions for Warren?
No.
Okay. So there's 3 items tonight: the conditional use permit, then the site plan review and architectural review. The conditional use permit is required for this project in the M1 zoning district. All mini warehousing units require a conditional use permit. You'll see throughout my staff review that unfortunately we did not receive what you're looking at tonight. Actually is not the most final site plan that we received for this project. There were corrections that needed to be made, and unfortunately those corrections did not come to us until after this Plan Commission packet was sent out. So project revisions were submitted on April 10th. Staff has not had adequate time to review all of those revisions. There are still several items that are outstanding that are not currently in compliance with our ordinance. The project will be heard for a variance request next week at the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for a rear yard setback. As you'll see on this plans, the rear yard setback is 10 feet, and it should be 25. So they will be seeking a variance to have a reduced rear yard setback. There's some outstanding fire protection items that needed to be addressed yet, including fire lanes and hydrant location. We're working through those with Ferris Hansen. There are also a couple of other things throughout the site plan. One of them being the applicant is proposing a holding tank for the bathroom facilities, and holding tanks are not permitted within the city of Elkhorn. So we would want that to be removed from the plans. Because of the inadequate time to review the project revisions and the outstanding inconsistencies with our ordinance, I am requesting that the Plan Commission table the conditional use permit, site plan, and architectural review, but I will also let Naomi go over her staff comments.
Thank you. We issued a review letter, let me see, back at April 1st. The plans have been resubmitted, as Allison mentioned, on April 10th. And recently I got a revised stormwater management report to address any comments that I had with regards to the stormwater design. So the comments on my April 1st letter, Allison did a nice job of summarizing. Basically, we're wanting to make sure that there's proper easement on the water main that runs through the property, working with the fire chief on adequate fire protection and fire lanes. I think there were just some grading, just cleanup on the grading plan, which I think has been accomplished. The bike path now is shown at the cross slopes necessary so that it meets what the requirement for bicycle facility design. So we've verified that. I would like to have a better understanding of what actual storm discharge location will be. So any information we can get on the connection on Proctor to see if that's going to work. If the connection is across the adjacent private property, then we need a written approval. So we're a little bit up on the air of where that connection will be. Stormwater management, I think we're pretty set there. My comments have been addressed in that area. So we're just cleaning up some of the other items from my April letter.
Yeah, I'd like to respond to a couple of those things. As far as the fire department stuff, all of the fire lanes and all the fire turns, now I didn't show every last one of them on here, but they all do work from other directions. I just, there's so many lines on there, 2 turns from each way, both directions, but it all works that way. And I heard about the hydrant only just recently after that, and so we added a hydrant in, a second hydrant on the plan. And so that's what we did. Most places don't have that. They have hydrants on the street, and then you fill up on the street and you go in, or you're in. So, but so that there's that. And by the time I imagine you're going to table this tonight, and if not act on it, because we have to do the variance anyway. But then we'd have to come back to another meeting in May or something like that to finalize this, I would assume. I might just say something on the variance to you anyway, and that is, I started to say it before, that the rear yard setback we took to mean would be the railroad. That's all of them up and down the line. Even the neighbor's one, he comes off on the west side, but his rear yard that he's used is the railroad, not his side yard. And so that's why I thought, so we planned it all this way. I didn't realize that was going to be an issue. And I think it's a better plan this way than it would be to stack the buildings up parallel in the other direction. So that's why we are asking for the variance, because I think it should be granted. There's not a hardship to anybody else to do that. So, and to do it, then it takes the whole traffic pattern off of that side of the building, and it's just a landscaped edge that they're going to look at. So, and yes, before the next meeting, then if you do table it, we'll have a final route and final plan for the storm connection. So that gives me a week or 2 or something like that to do it.
Did you want to discuss the holding tank too, Warren, at all? I know we,
Couldn't hear you.
the holding tank for
Oh, that
sanitary
holding
sewer.
tank. Yeah. Well, the holding tank. We put one toilet in there, but it isn't in this office. But that toilet in the office is not open to the public. It's just for them, and they're hardly ever there. So I guess we could do something else, but because to try to get a sewer line extended all the way down there, that's 450, 400 feet, and we just can't do that. We'll just eliminate the restroom altogether if we can't just have a little holding tank. So we would ask for that exception, I guess, in this process, and that would be the answer. If we can't get it, then we can't be spending like $350,000 to get a sewer down there for that small office in this case.
Warren's correct. I mean, there's no sanitary sewer that fronts this parcel, so you'd have to extend sanitary sewer east on, let me just pull up a map real quick, if that's okay. Because I just want to explain the options to the plan commission. Bike trail at, oh, there's no trail, yeah. Thank you. There we go. All right. So, I did. So here's the bike path. This is where the parcel is located at. So the nearest sanitary sewer we have would be, you have some in Proctor, and then you have some in Koopman that ends, I believe, like right here. It services Weston, and then it doesn't go any further to the east. So one would have to be, extended slightly down Koopman, and then north to the site. And obviously that would be costly, but for what this is, you could have probably a small grinder pump and a low pressure force main, maybe a 2-inch. I don't know, that would have to be designed by Ferris Hansen or somebody else, but it is bad habit to start. I mean, in my opinion, we've had situations like that where you've had holding tanks in town, but it's not good practice in my opinion. So the options would be either gravity up Koopman or from Proctor, but probably the more logical choice would possibly be like a grinder pump and a 2-inch force main to Proctor or to Koopman. So.
I would move at this time to table this item until the city engineer and the city zoning officer have time to review the changes that were submitted and schedule it back for the May, I think it's May 2nd is the next meeting.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I guess, in order for Warren to get direction on some of this, I guess specifically it sounds like we're maybe working through the hydrant things. But as far as this holding tank, is that something where he should just plan to move forward with something different, either eliminating the office space with a toilet or?
Well, I think what you said is, we don't want any more holding tanks. We want
And
to
it's
just make
not
sure
like
any new projects we get, no holding tanks. So I think you just showed them a couple options. It's up to them, or just eliminate the bathroom. Let Allison know that before the next meeting,
Yeah.
what you're gonna do.
Well, if that's what it's going to be, a decision, we won't be putting a holding tank in or facility there. That's what the owner has just said to me.
Do that right
But-
now.
Yeah,
No.
but I don't
I hear
understand.
you loud and clear.
Thank you.
Any further discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Project's tabled till May meeting. Item B is Ricardo Angeles and Midwest One South County Properties, 1 North Lincoln Street. We're looking at a conditional use permit public hearing. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Plan Commission of the City of Elkhorn on April 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter may be heard in the council chambers, city administration offices, 311 Seymour Court, Elkhorn, Wisconsin, for the purpose of hearing all interested parties, their attorneys or agents with respect to the application submitted by Ricardo Angeles, Ricky's Place Restaurant for a conditional use permit to allow outside dining located at 1 North Lincoln Street. The property is more precisely identified by the following tax parcel ID, YRW00022A. Is there anyone here for public hearing? Could you come up and state your name and address, please?
Pat Watts, the property owner with South County Properties. So what we've submitted was a request for outside dining. I think we've submitted a kind of copy of what we're looking at. I think it should be in your packet. For some screening, we met with Allison and kind of came up with this layout. It would be seasonal. We're looking at from the end of April, May till I think into early October. During the winter, there would be no outside. The tables and everything would not be outside, to be taken back inside. And the operation would be during the normal business hours that the restaurant currently operates. Any questions or comments?
No, in that area though, you do have the area you're looking at, and then the sidewalk is outside of that, right?
Correct.
Is that-
Yeah, so the existing sort of is reflected on the rendering here. The existing canopy overhang is 8 feet wide. That would,
You'd be, that part would be behind the post there then?
right, right. So you have
Okay.
8 feet from the building wall to the post, and then we have, there's about another 6 to 8 feet out to the side, so it would not encroach on the existing sidewalk at all.
Okay.
So we're kind of where the flower pots are now, inside the pot, so it would line up with the post, so it wouldn't extend outside of the post there.
So these are the post locations here?
Yes, they're 12-foot on center. So there's a distance of length of north to south, 48 feet by 8 feet wide. And then we're just reflecting like a 42-inch ADA access opening for anybody in the wheelchair needs accessibility to get in, would meet the ADA codes.
Anything else, or?
I think that's it. I think we discussed a little bit, Alice, with our meeting about the screening, kind of a wood, so that would be also removable. It wouldn't be a permanent area there, which would help in snow removal and stuff in the wintertime, getting the snow off of there, so.
All right, thank you. We'll get, if we can, we'll go to somebody else, see if they have any public comment,
Sure.
and we'll get back to you if we
Okay.
need to. Anyone else for public comment? Asking twice? A third time? Well, the public hearing is closed. Allison, do you have anything on this?
Sure. So I can just explain that in the B1 zoning district, which is our central business district, all outdoor seating requires a conditional use permit. The applicant explained everything, I think, fairly well. They're just seeking seasonal outdoor seating underneath that awning area, not to extend any further. So I did recommend tonight approval of this conditional use for the outdoor seating. I did state within the conditions that the tables and chairs shall be removed and stored not on site between November and April. And they were seeking times of outdoor operation between 10:30 and 8 p.m. Tuesday through Friday, and 8 a.m. through 8 p.m. Saturday, and 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday. So I just went ahead and put that right into the conditions. The fencing material and height should be approved with the zoning administrator. They shall never obstruct public sidewalk or pedestrian access. And if there's anything else you would like to add, or if you have any questions on anything, please let me know.
My question is, and I get the no storage of tables and chairs out there, November through April? With the funky weather we've been having, if they wanted to open up outdoor seating in April, we had 70 degrees. Are they allowed to do that? Or if they get a unseasonably warm fall and leave the tables and chairs out there into November?
Sure, absolutely. You know, in that case, if we wanted to have a little bit of leeway, we could maybe change those dates. You know, instead of November to April, we could, you know, push them a little bit if need be.
I think we're just assuming normal weather, which normal weather doesn't exist anymore.
Would be completely acceptable, though, you know, if we wanted to grant some leniency within the conditions and, you know, say that they could have outdoor tables from
Flexible, in other words, we could
the,
make it.
yeah, 1st
make
of
it-
April to,
Make it flexible
Yeah.
with the.
The key is no winter storage of
exactly,
tables and chairs.
yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
No discussion?
make a motion to approve based on the extended time, however you want to write that in there.
I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. You've got your approval.
Thank you.
City Council.
Yeah, I guess you got your approval to go to city council.
Yeah.
At our next meeting, it'll be on the agenda.
Yep.
And we've got some general discussion items.
Yeah, thank you. So I just have a couple of updates for you. I'm sure everyone is anxiously awaiting Creekside to come back for their SIP submittal. I know that at the last meeting, we briefly touched on that and let you know that they would be coming back pretty soon. Internally, we're still working with them to work out kinks within their site plan, deficiencies or inconsistencies, and we're doing that at a staff level. So we're meeting with the entire Creekside team on a weekly basis. Every Friday, we're going to have a running meeting with them until we're ready to bring it back to you. So we're actively working with Creekside, and hopefully it should be back as soon as we feel like the SIP is ready. A couple of other updates. I've been working with our city attorney on a couple of ordinance updates. The Zoning Board of Appeals ordinance is slightly outdated and needs to be updated and come into compliance with state statute. So you'll see that coming back soon for approval so that it matches state statute. Another one is our ETZ ordinance. We're working on updates to our very outdated ETZ ordinance. I don't believe it's been updated since the 90s. So we're working through that right now. That's a little bit bigger of a project, but you'll see that coming back soon. So those are just a couple of ordinance updates. I had also been working on a solar ordinance per your recommendation. And with the transition of city attorneys, we're going to be starting that process now. So we're going to look into bringing something back to you for review, something for you to look at, and we can go through it and decide what you like, what you don't like, what you would like to see, and compare that to the state statute. So
That sounds good.
Thank you.
I got a question, sir.
Yes.
What does ETZ stand for?
ETZ stands for extraterritorial zoning. So the city of Elkhorn has extraterritorial zoning authority in four different communities: the town of Geneva, town of Delavan, town of Lafayette, and town of Sugar Creek. The boundary extends 1.5 miles past the city of Elkhorn limits. So we enforce the zoning in that area.
It's annex available 1.5 from the city limits? Is that what you're saying?
It's not annexed, no. It's not annexed into the city. But
Right.
we have an opportunity to do planning with those communities
Right,
for that mile.
before it's developed or whatever, because it will affect our city, correct? Thank you.
You're welcome.
And is this homeless shelter that's brought up on Reamer Road, has that been something that's in that part of that equation?
Unfortunately, we can't really address anything that's not currently on our agenda tonight.
Well, that's why we're here. There's gonna be more of us, because we all live in that neighborhood.
Sure. It may appear on a future agenda. I'm not sure. But if it does, you would be able to see that posted on our city website.
Just be aware that all the city council members receive a packet, a very detailed packet of our proposals of that proposed conceptual plan that we presented to the city. We feel that it should be closer to HSD, the jail, just kind of giving you a heads up where we're standing, so.
Yeah.
The city council member has a very nice detailed packet if anybody's interested.
Yep. Yeah, I'd like to thank you for your comments, but we really can't discuss Anything not on the agenda, so thank you. We've got two upcoming meetings, May 2nd, 2024 at 6 PM, and then May 16th, 2024 at 6 PM.
Motion.
And do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.